there a mission that stood out as being epic, the most epic?
Yeah. It was basically our whole job was to provide disruption operations. We were conducting missions. So at the time, village stability operations was kicking off. And for people that don't know what that means, basically like embedding a special operations unit inside of a village so they can build that local rapport and build some fucking schools and bridges and wells and basically like start a militia and make these people self-sufficient, right? And defend themselves from like the fucking horribleness over there. So we plan this mission, we fly in, super epic, dude, I love it, dude. I love the silence that comes from like the violent sound of a helicopter when all you see is the green eyes and everyone's just like fucking in the zone. You're like, oh yes, this is it. Well, we were having 160th insert us the whole time. Well, then they kinked it. They were trying to bring in the Marine Air Wing to give them some love. And I love you, Marine Air Wing, but they're not trained like the 160th, unfortunately. And it's not like they're not capable. They just don't get the training. And so now they're telling us we're going to insert with Ospreys. And we're like, fuck that shit, because Ospreys at this time were fairly new aircraft and they were browning out on inserts. Their props are hitting terrain. They're flipping over. They're crashing. And I was like, dude, it's a big school bus with like, is it a helicopter? Is it an airplane? What is it? And so they're telling us we're inserting with this Marine Air Wing unit. We're like, fuck, this sucks. Like the chances are already high. So we insert, we do this like long, like 4K patrol to this backyard of the, shitheads territory. And so we didn't have to worry about like IEDs or stuff like that. So it was really cool. And we go up to this compound that we're going to take over. We set up our, you familiar with like a jack charge? Basically, it was just like your data sheet, 3 blocks of C4, 100 foot of deck cord, 50 foot of deck cord. And I mean, we had 2 of these placed, and basically it blew like a man-sized hole in these like big 3 foot, ancient walls. We go inside, secure the objective, wrap up military age males, get follow-on intelligence, sit on patrols, basically secure the whole site. And then we basically bunker ourselves up in the same building that we just blew up to get into it. And our whole mission was to ambush shit. So later that morning, like super early, like 0304, we sent out an ambush team to basically go set up a fucking kill house, and they were going to draw in the fucking fighters, and we were all going to fucking kill them. Sounds really cool. And I remember being in our compound that we took over originally, and I hear on the radio like, I got 3 guys. I see 5 people, and like, dude, like numbers are increasing and the information's increasing. And basically what they're doing, they're talking about these guys are just walking by their ambush house, and the comms go quiet, and we're like, what the fuck's going on? And then you just hear like suppressors going off in the background. You're like, epic. Then you hear grenades and you hear machine guns, and it's like fucking all out violence. And long story short, they smoke a couple of these guys, but the rest of the fighters flee to this like defilade in the surrounding area. So our point now was they're scoping these dudes out, and I was a sniper, and Matt, my team leader, was like, hey, I need you to patrol over there and fucking go support these dudes. I'm like, you want me to fucking patrol from here to there by myself? Sure, that sounds like a good idea. So I'm patrolling with my 300 Win Mag and my carbine, and I'm like checking everything left and right, because I'm like, I felt like a badass going by myself, but I was also like, this is fucking stupid. And I was just linking up with the remain behind element that was going to bring me into their stronghold. And so long story short, I get there, no big deal. Well, we end up sending out a patrol to like basically eradicate the remaining fighters. Well, there was a charge thrown, and long story short, one of the walls of the compound that we're basically moving into crumbled, and it hit one of our UAE partner forces, broke his fucking his pelvic bone, and this guy was massive. And we're like, fuck, shit's real, and we're taking fire from the outside. So now we're pinned down this very small, maybe 8x8, very shitty building, if you want to call it that. Well, we had no Skedka. We had no stretcher with us. We had no morphine on us. We're like, shit. So the lieutenant from the UAE, him and I ran back through this like volley of fire to our stronghold to grab the Skedco, the morphine, and another medical bag. And on the way back, we're kind of patrolling before we hit this like limit advance where we have to like run to the objective where the guys are at. And he's like, "Oh, Cody, it's okay. We're safe. They won't kill us." I'm like, "Dude, just because you're Muslim, they're gonna fucking murder you just like they're gonna murder me, dude. Like, you're delusional." And these guys they were great dudes, but they had a different mindset. We'd find out that they weren't even condition 1 going on patrol. I'm like, "Damn, these guys are always on fire." Like, no, they just were never charged back and ready to go. And
these are the UAE guys?
Yeah, it was the UAE SOF guys. And he's like, "Cody, don't worry." He's like, "We're safe." I'm like, "Dude, we're not fucking safe." And as soon as he said that shit, we're coming back now with the Skecco and morphine in the medical bag. As soon as he said, "Cody, we're safe," literally just eat shit like right in front of us. We just get zipped by a machine gun, and we caught ourselves in an L shape. And I'm like, "Oh, we are so fucked." And the only terrain around us is like this little micro terrain, probably smaller than, not even a mountain big as this. And we're both, and I was a pretty big guy back then with all my kid, and so was he. And we're hiding behind this like micro terrain, just like eating fucking incoming rounds all around us. And I'm like, fuck me. And I can see in the distance, probably about 60, 70 yards was this 8x8 building that the rest of the team was in, that we we're bringing back where the casualty was at. And I'm on the radio. I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, not trying to move because literally it was extremely danger close, something I was used to, but I was just like, God damn, how many more times is this going to happen? You're going to run out of lucky cards every now and then. And so I'm like, all right, pop smoke. They're like, all right, we're going to pop smoke. And as soon as we pop it, you run. I'm like, fuck you. As soon as it billows and you lay down multiple machine gun fire, we're going to get the fuck up and run. And it was one of those things where you can't stop and like, is it the perfect conditions? It was like, okay, as soon as you get up, you have to go. There is no second guessing yourself. So you have to commit. And it was a rush. It was fun. I think I smiled and laughed the whole time running there, but probably just because I was scared that I was going to get like murked, in the middle of this like field, and that was going to be the end of my life.
Do you have any idea how many opposing forces there were?
We had about 5 individuals that we were fucking seeking out at this point.
Yeah.
Luckily, later on, once we got this casualty back, we called in, Marine Aviation, the Cobra pilots. Those dudes are savage, dude. Those guys are like epic. And they just came in, and we luckily, when you call in a Medevac, you usually have a gun support with them. And how at the time gun support worked is if you call in a Medevac, you could use that gun support to do what you needed to do, because their mission is to provide coverage for the bird, for the Medevac. And they just came in there and like mowed shit down, did what they do best. 60 drops down, PJ's load up our dude, and he takes off, and we got out of this like gnarly L shape. But that was definitely like the closest time on that deployment. I'm like, dude, this is it. This is fucking it. I'm exposed and I'm going to get mowed.
Yeah. Man. How many deployments from like after that, how many more deployments did you do?
So this was my 4th deployment. So I had 3 more deployments after that.
And were they both, or Afghanistan, Iraq?
Yep. After that, I went to Africa, and then after Africa, I went to Afghanistan again. Then I went to Iraq for my final deployment.
Okay. Coming back from that Afghanistan deployment where you basically C-3PO backpacked your way into combat.
I definitely did.
Was there, how did that wrap up? Like, because you were supposed to be at a desk job, at what point did you transition back to that and ultimately come home? How did that whole thing work?
Yeah, it ended on a bad note. One of the the Marine officers that was in charge of the desk quadrant that I was supposed to be operating in, honestly, at the time, he was super jealous that I was going to do shit. He was new to the organization. He wasn't getting some, and he was butthurt that he was fucking doing this job. And my last about 30, 40 days, he called me back. I'm like, dude, why didn't you just let me finish my time out there? Like, those dudes, yes, I want to be out there, but it's not like I'm just having fucking fun. Like, these dudes need me. Whether I'm loading ammo for them, building charges, or supporting on a mission, like, they need me in some capacity because they're literally down a guy. That's why I'm there, for the whole reason. And he brought me back, and he's like, you're going to do this job. You're going to redeploy with me. And I was just really butthurt. I had this like chip on my shoulder because I'm like, dude, are we out here to fight and win? Or are we just out here to play like insecurities and like make everyone miserable together? So that deployment ended. I come back to the schoolhouse, and at that point, I went to become a CQB instructor for a schoolhouse, and I finished my time out as a CQB instructor before I essentially picked up the next rank, that gunny, the rank that I asked to get promoted on.
Yeah. So now you're in E7.
Now I'm in E7, and I get a phone call from an officer, a team leader over at our 3rd Battalion. He's like, "Hey, dude, you want to come be my team leader?" And I put this guy through, I think, the 2nd class of ITC. And I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm like, someone called me and asked me if I want to be a team chief. A team chief. I'm like, the senior enlisted guy of a team. I'm like, I felt like a badass. I'm like, what a dream come true. Like, what an honor. You know, there's only 16 of those guys per company, and we have 3 battalions and 3 companies per battalion. And I'm like, dude, this is badass. This is big leagues for me. And so I check into our 3rd Battalion, and as soon as I walk in, they're like, "Hey, you're deploying in like 4 months. You're going to Africa." I'm like, "What?" And back in the day, since I was a prior recon guy, I was a threat for this particular battalion because we weren't fucking stupid. We weren't pushovers, and we were very verbal. We're like, "This is dumb. Why are we doing train like this?" Our 3rd Battalion back in the day was our bastard battalion. A lot of good guys, but a lot of guys that didn't belong there at the same time. And there was leadership that went along with that as well. And so because our main moving parts were our 1st Battalion, which was prior 1st Force Reconnaissance guys, and then our 2nd Battalion, which was prior 2nd Force Reconnaissance guys from the East Coast. So East Coast and West Coast. Then we had our 3rd Battalion, which managed all of our other special operations engagements that SOF does, right? South America, various different comms out there. And so they kicked me out the door very quickly. So I'm on this quick turnaround. I've never been to Africa. I have no idea what we're doing. And my guys have plenty of experience in like Kenya and Senegal. And there I'm like, wait a second. How do we get out there? Like, oh, we just buy our flights and we coordinate for the C-130. I'm like, or the C-17. I'm like, we do all this shit? I'm like, are you serious? Like, it was a whole new system. And I was like, fuck, and we're going to Africa? I'm like, dude, I'm probably going to come back home and my team guys are going to come back home. This is epic. You know, it was like a new experience for me. I'm civilian attire 90% of the time. I'm working at the embassy here and there, and I'm driving a dope ass like Land Cruiser. And, you know, just, it was a whole new version of this like evolution of my military career that I was like super stoked on. And because I never had that opportunity to do that. And that deployment was basically like 3 months. It was just shy I was like short for my team like 7 days or something stupid to rate a deployment out of it, because at this time there was this concept of they were going to create a 4th team. At the time there was no 4th team in any of the companies, and since Afghanistan was just like the main thing at the time, they were looking at our 3rd Battalion to augment a 1st Battalion company. Well, they were looking at all the roster numbers, who had all the experience, who had all the leadership, and my team was one of the courses of action that MARSOC as a whole chose to become that 4th augmentation team. So they redeploy us. So we leave Africa, we come back home, and I find myself heading to California to go coordinate with 1st Rated Battalion. And being that the place that I started from, I was like super stoked to get back there, but I realized it changed a lot. A lot of fucking chip on the shoulders, a lot of, we call it seasons. Like, you know, I'm Bravo Company season 1, season 2. I'm like, okay, fucking hard ass. Like, you're not the only one that's been here. And it was just like a different dynamics. And I was representing a 3rd Battalion team. So I had some of my guys, basically all my guys were ITC students that I put through, or they happened to graduate, you know, while I was on another team or doing something like that. And solid team. But we came from a 3rd Battalion that didn't have a good reputation. So there was a lot of animosity. They're like, oh, you guys are just from a 3rd team. I'm like, what kind of professional are you? And this is coming from like a leadership platform. And so, you know, I came back home, got the mission, like what we're doing and what our timeline was. And it was super epic. Basically, I got to build out my own calendar to train my entire team. We had all the assets we needed because we were the main effort for MARSOC, because this is such a big deal, because the battlefield in Afghanistan was changing and they needed to adapt and overcome. And so to be part of that was super rad. And, you know, my team crushed everything we did in training. There was definitely we were the underdog, but I think it just fueled the guys more. And a lot of these guys got to do maybe Iraq with the infantry battalion, and they were really hungry to go to war, which helped. But what really helped me, I had like great element leaders. I had great leadership, supporting leadership that would just set the precedence for like what's to be expected, and train these guys up and gave them everything they needed.
What was that deployment like? I mean, so kind of running all your own shit. I mean, when you showed up, did you feel more prepared than you had in previous deployments because you're kind of running your own show, or what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, when we got to Afghanistan, my team was definitely prepared to do whatever we needed to do. What we were not prepared for was like the amount of pushback we were gonna get. We were the bastard fucking team. You know, they only had equipment like vehicle gun trucks and communication suites for 3 teams. So like my comm guys are out piecemealing the stuff together. My motor T guys are out piecemealing trucks together, and we were like an afterthought. But I mean, we were used to it, so we adapted and overcome. And they kick us out to like the most like shittiest like northern like fucking out there location, and we were like, okay, this is it. But I mean, we were absolutely prepared for what we did, and my guys were so hungry to just be successful at their job and being able to employ themselves. You know, they maximized the entire battlefield and they maximized their whole time there.
Was there a specified mission when you got on the ground, or?
Yeah, our main thing was the village stability operation. So there was a lot of the teams that were actually in a village. My particular team, we weren't attached, but we stayed on a facility that the Marines occupied and the Afghan National Army. Well, at this time, I had my own Afghan Special Forces team with me, and the Marine Corps at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but they did not like Afghans of any type with weapons on their base. So we had to like partition off the Marine base. We're like taking over some of their bases. We're building out our own team houses because we're individual. I had to put up like gates and security. So I got Marines, my special operations team, my Afghan special operations team, and then another wall. And then I have a whole Afghan National Army battalion, which I did not manage or run. And it was cool. I mean, we literally were the underdogs the entire time. And like my guys, like were just doing massive, amazing things that I would say it wasn't the deployment they probably wished for. Like they weren't free falling in and like, you know, fast ripping from the helicopter and doing raids every night. But the mission really at that point was to advise and assist. We did a lot of accompanying before, so advise, AAA we would call it. But this time we were at that phase line where they're downsizing Afghanistan, and we're just really supposed to employ our special operations partner forces and make them the face of the Afghan government. And a lot of my younger guys were not really feeling that vibe. My captain at the time always wanted to go on patrols, and this is my 3rd time back to Helmand Valley. I'm like, bro, like, that's not our fucking mission. I was never afraid of death. I wasn't afraid of war or conflict, or, you know, I never wanted to lose guys, but I knew that was part of the outcome when you play with fire. But I also was a real life player. I'm like, dude, we're not here to win the war on terror in 6 months. And a lot of these younger guys that were eager, wanted to win the war in 6 months. I'm like, that makes no sense. We're literally downsizing. Why don't we truly just employ these fucking guys, these partner forces that we're here for? Because we're about to leave these dudes in like a matter of no time. And so that was really hard to convey against guys that, I mean, what do you expect? They want to get in the fight, right? They're special operators now. They have all these assets. They have all this training. They want to go put it to the test. And I get that. So being like that figure to like, this is probably not the best use of our like assets or like our manpower. That was a tough one. It caused like some rifts here and there, but I think the guys like saw the bigger picture. But, you know, being that guy now who got to experience all these other things previously, now in a position where I'm like, okay, I can say, hey, dude, let's just go out there and throttle it down. But I can't justify, and I'm not going to justify how I'm going to lose a fucking guy just to do a pointless presence patrol.
Just to get some.
Just to fucking get some. Like, that's so stupid. And at the same time, too, the Taliban at this point, they really turned into a true mob type of mindset where they realize, hey, we're pushing guns, drugs, and trafficking. If we just don't fuck with these dudes, they're going to leave here. You know, if we just let them alone, we just worry about like the things that are producing us money.
So they started gaming the system.
They started gaming the system, yeah. and rightfully so. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. What seeing I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but seeing the evacuation of Afghanistan and the way that it went down, I think after the fact, not just how we botched it, but you know what took place in the days and weeks after. The work that you did with the Afghan national guys, was it a surprise to you to see that happen, or were you like, yeah, I remember working with these guys, and I'm not at all shocked that it went down the way that it did?
Like without like a fight and stuff?
Well, I mean, I know some of them did, but just
right.
You know, just like, were you shocked at how everything panned out?
Well, I was not shocked that after 20 years of looking for weapons of mass destruction, that we left a place that had no involvement into the whole global war on terrorism. I wasn't shocked on how it went. I mean, what did people expect? Look at every other military occupation war we've been in. How do you think it's going to go down, right? And when I look at the bigger picture of Afghanistan, like, dude, we fucked that place up. Not just in war, but like, dude, we literally said, hey, guess what? We're going to bring in our way of living. We're going to take away your power. Oh, by the way, when we leave, you're fucked. You have nothing in place. Like, what do you expect's going to happen? You know, I had to put myself in that situation. I'm watching this debacle happen on the news. Like, dude, if I had a family to look after, you think I'm going to go try to fight the redcoats by myself? Or do you think I'm going to like focus on what matters most in my family and the long war, right? Because these guys are now going to have to like create that long game, and they can't just fight emotionally like, hey, let's put up a fight and stop the Taliban. Like, no, dude, like that is not the opportune time. You have to wait for these guys to get established. Then you start your guerrilla warfare all over again, and you now become what they once were. So, you know, how things went down on the Afghan side, like, hey man, that's just never happened to us. So I have no room to talk, one. Two, if I was in any of those guys' situation, I would, and those guys care a lot about their family, the tradition, their people, their villages. That would be my main focus, not trying to fucking kill these guys that now have access to, you know, all of our old left behind equipment. That's not the time to push the fight. It's like the whole Hawkstooth thing. Dude, just play the fucking game now, wait till the dude turns his back, and then start scheming, start making and devising your plan. And that's just how my mindset works. You know, I think all those Afghans that fought alongside us, I think those fucking dudes are brave as shit. Were there a lot of turds? There was a lot of American turds, you know, but I mean, we have no idea what it's like to truly walk in the shoes of them. You know, we have no idea what it's like to literally just have your whole entire life disrupted and turned upside down. So I will never, ever cast shade on like what decisions they made, because they were the ones that had to make them, you know?
Yeah. Is it tough for you to see that happen?
So I was never a war junkie. You know, I never re-enlisted because of America. I never re-enlisted because of the war on terror. I re-enlisted because I loved my job and I loved looking out for the dudes that I worked with. Yeah. That was my why. It wasn't nothing else. And, but when that shit happened, I'm like, I just wasn't surprised. Like, what the fuck do you expect? And we have this whole generation of brainwashed people who think that we're doing true justice. No, dude, like, it's about money. It's always about money. And when the money stops or people get too much wind of something, guess what happens? You have to have drastic change. And I just felt so disgusted for all my friends who were about the war effort, who believed in what they were doing. And I just, like, how do you justify those lives when we just bounced out? It's just like, really?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.